Hi, I'm Congressman Paul Ryan from Janesville, Wisconsin. I'm also the chairman of the House Budget Committee. I recently launched the Prosperity Project to highlight the need for a serious national conversation on cutting spending, reforming entitlements, and paying off our debts. The Prosperity Project is pursuing a twofold mission. First, we have to hold politicians accountable. And second, we have to support lawmakers who follow through and make the tough choices. The danger to our economy is imminent, and it is no longer enough for politicians to simply say they want to eliminate deficits and pay down the debt. They need to prove it with actions. Please visit prosperityproject.org to learn more and to get involved. As the House prepares to lay out our country's budget for 2012, I want to take a minute to highlight the crisis we face. We know that our country's problem is that Washington, D.C. is spending money it simply doesn't have. But knowing how this money is spent is crucial to solving the problem. There are essentially two types of spending: discretionary and mandatory. Mandatory spending is spending that is allocated to specific program or needs that the federal government is obligated to pay every year. Discretionary spending is set each year by the President and the Congress. This spending is most easily split into categories: defense spending, what we use to fund our armed forces, purchase weapons, etc. The other discretionary spending is for things like foreign aid, education, and government operations. Together, these categories of discretionary spending make up about 40% of our federal spending each year. What about the other 60%? The majority of our federal budget is spent on mandatory spending, items that we are obligated to pay because we have made promises based upon the full faith and credit of the United States. This includes entitlement programs like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and interest on our debt. If we really want to get our budget in order by cutting spending, we have to address these mandatory budget items. We have to reform our entitlement programs and get our debt under control. The unfortunate fact is that in the last few years, the federal government has been on a spending spree. In 2005, federal spending nearly topped $1.8 trillion. In 2015, unless we make common sense changes, our annual budget will be $4 trillion, a 122% increase over 10 years. In 2020, the spending will reach $5.4 trillion. This spending binge isn't sustainable. This chart illustrates the ratio of national debt to gross domestic product, GDP, basically the measure of what our economy produces. During World War II and the period immediately after, our national debt surged. In 1946, our national debt represented 108.6% of GDP. By 1974, debt fell to 24% of GDP. Today, it's 61%. Let's take a closer look at what the number means. For every $100 our economy generates, we borrow $61. By 2023, our debt will match 101% of GDP, a level not seen since World War II. By the time my children are my age, we'll have borrowed $2 for every $1 that is brought into the economy. It's literally a tidal wave of debt that we won't be able to recover from. In fact, the Congressional Budget Office's forecasting software crashes when we reach the year 2037 because it can't conceive of a way that our economy can continue with debt levels that high. What's driving our debt? The answer is entitlement programs. Here's a look at our tax revenue as a percentage of GDP, illustrated by the black line. The red currents represent the portion of our budget, again, based upon the size of our economy, going to the three major entitlement programs: Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. Here we are at 2010, with our mandatory spending making up 60% of our budget and consuming almost 10% of our economy. In 2052, our obligations to mandatory spending on these entitlement programs will outstrip all taxes we take in. This means that by the time my three children are my age, just those three programs, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, will consume every single dollar of federal revenues. There will be nothing left in the budget to pay for anything else. There are two main reasons these entitlement programs are growing to unmanageable levels. More people are retiring and are receiving these benefits. As the baby boomers age, we'll increase the number of retirees from 40 million to 77 million people. These programs function as pay-as-you-go. which means that taxes on current workers' salaries pay for current retirees' benefits. Because of changes in our country's birth rate, there aren't enough new workers to keep up with the new and existing retirees. Combine this with healthcare inflation, the cost for Medicare and Medicaid increase about 6 to 7% a year, and you get an entitlement crisis. It may seem like our challenges won't become real for several more decades, but each year we wait and make more unfunded promises, the deeper the hole is we're digging for ourselves. In 2009, our unfunded promises that were made by past generations of politicians, even though they didn't have a way to pay for them, totaled $62.9 trillion. Last year, that number grew to $76.4 trillion. Today, that number stands at $99.4 trillion. We simply can't afford to wait for this problem to reach a crisis level. We do have a choice. We can continue down the road we're currently on, pretending there's no danger ahead, spending without regard to the cost of our children. Or we can start the hard work now, stabilize our safety net, get our economy back on solid course, and restore America to prosperity. The simple truth is we're either going to tackle these challenges or they are going to tackle us. Please visit prosperityproject.org to learn more, get involved, and help us get on the road to prosperity. Thank you.